Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. Hello, Linda's first in the house. Second, Gemma and Carol. Hello to you all. Hello, Tricia. Hope you're all well. And are you enjoying the sunshine? It's been beautiful today, hasn't it? I've had a nice little trip out to Bradford-on-Avon today to meet a friend with my daughter, and it was just gorgeous. We sat out in the gardens, which was near a canal. Very nice too. Sound good and pick good. Fantastic. Hello, Kim. Right, so let's get let's get stuck straight in, shall we? Because we've got a lot to cover tonight. So, hello, Susie. Good to have you join. Right, so tonight's tutorial is part 1 of 2. So we're actually going to look at how to bead or embroider around a cabochon, how to do this peyote stitch in the centre, and then next week's we'll be showing you how to do this ladder stitch, which you can also turn into a bracelet or a choker, and how to embellish with crystals. Now, I'd love to do one this size, but when I thought about it, I thought, do you know what, I'm really not going to have enough time. So I'm going to do a smaller one, but of course the methods are still the same. So for those of you that want to paint your own cabochon, I did a tutorial on Tuesday taking you through the steps to do that. You don't have to have your own, you can have any other cabochon you want to. So these are ones that I've hand painted. So we'll start from scratch because I know some of you may or may not have done bead embroidery, but it'd be great to know in the chat whether or not this is new to you. Even if I know, everybody else might not know, and you know, it's good to get the chat going in case anybody needs any tips. I meant to show you that little fastening at the bottom as well. I love that fastening. Great for people that have any allergies as well. So let's just pop that up at the corner so that anybody coming in late can see. Now, I discovered earlier on that my E6000, which is what I recommend you use for gluing the cabochon onto here, has run out. I think this one's okay, but what you could do if you're doing peyote around a cabochon, you can always use double-sided sticky tape. I'm not sure whether this works, which is one of the sticky tape runners. So I thought, you know what? You know I like to do everything for the first time on a live. Let's see. See if I can... I don't think it is going to work, but we give it a go. Oh, I don't know, that's not too bad. I think I'd feel a lot more confident with the double-sided sticky tape. So I thought, you know what, we'll do something a bit different this time because we've never done it with the tape before. Obviously, when you're gluing the backing on at the end, which is this, if you haven't got any glue, I guess you could stitch it on if you wanted to. But when I first learnt to do bead embroidery, it was actually using double-sided sticky tape. I wouldn't recommend it if you are not doing peyote. Maybe some of you have tried it. Let us know how you find it. But this is just one I bought from Create and Craft that I use for my cards when I'm demonstrating how to use my stamps for bead embroidery. Right, so double-sided there. Gonna pop that in the middle. It's not really in the middle, but there you go. So hello Jane. Jane has actually used the double-sided tape as well before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve the edges, because when you're working with bead embroidery, boy does your thread get stuck around absolutely everything. Right, so let's start off from covering the basics in case you've never done any before. So this is Nymo thread. There's lots of different threads you can use, but this is a good, very reasonable all round. This is the grey one. I'm going to cut just over 1 metre. I would thoroughly recommend that you invest in one of these conditioning waxes. I've got 3 of these left. They are great for actually conditioning your thread. It helps to stop your needle from coming loose from the thread, and it helps to prevent some of the fraying that might occur as well. So this is a size 10 beading needle which fits the beads that we're using today. Now honestly, I remember looking at it when I first did it and I thought, you are having a giraffe. There is no way I'm going to thread that. But obviously, honestly, over time you really get used to it. If you're using size 15 seed beads, some of them don't fit onto a 10. That's when it's good to have a 12 in your box as well. This that I'm working on here is beading foundation that I also sell, and it's like a thick interfacing that you stitch onto. So we're going to actually tie a couple of knots at the bottom. You need a nice sharp pair of scissors for the end. Kim's just saying with Nymo I always use wax, but the Mayuki is nicer thread and you can get away without wax sometimes. Mayuki thread is beautiful as well. I've got some of the Mayuki reels available. One of my favourites too, Kim. Right, okay, so apologies if you've done it before, but for everybody's benefit I'm going to cover all of the basics. So I am going to start off with size 10 seed beads. They're checkers of Vacuum. These are opaque lilac, I think they are. They've just gone up in the thread not long ago. So I'm going to come up from the back about 1 millimetre from the side of your cabochon. Pull it through till it hits the knot. Now do not strain your eyes when you work in bead embroidery. Use the tip of your needle to pop your seed beads on. Do it in a good light as well. That really helps. I'm going to pop on 4. So thread that all the way down to the end. And then, so with my non-dominant hand, I'm just going to catch that thread so that it sits underneath my non-dominant thumb. Then I'm going to take a nosedive down after that 4th bead to the back. Pull that through. So that sits nice. Turn that over. So we've got 2 holes. We're going to back stitch, so we're going to push our needle down through the first hole that we made with the knot. That brings you out at the beginning of that first group of 4. We're going to reinforce. You'll get used to these terms, which means we're going to go back through the path that we've just gone through. And then just give that a nice little pull, and then you're going to add 4. Now the reason why I'm working in even numbers is because this is particularly important for the stitch that we're going to do in a little while for it to work properly. So again, nosedive down after the 4th bead, turn it over, and we're going to back stitch into the previous one. So that brings you up at the beginning of that group of 4. Now I know sometimes people find it really tricky to get in there, but you can bend your foundation just to help it. So reinforce back through those 4, and I find it helps to just give a little tug on there just to get a nice tension. So again, just flick those on to your needle. Isn't it typical? My threads come off of my needle. Now I have to say that bead embroidery is one of my very favourite beading mediums. I love the fact that I can combine lots of different methods. I love the fact that I can combine my artwork with it as well. I've got lots of kits, so if anybody wants to start off with a kit, visit my website beadsbyvachil.co.uk, and I've got some animal I've got hares, I've got bees, I've got hedgehogs, dragonfly, roses, and just plain simple bead embroidery circles without a cabochon. So do have a look on there. So we're just continuing with this back stitch. Push your needle through those 4. But it's a really good idea to invest in some of that E6000 glue as well. I haven't found any other glue that beats it. I've tried others, but I find that they seep through to the bottom of the right, what I'm trying to say is when you put this on, it seeps through the material, whereas I find that the E6000, it doesn't. But if anybody else has got any recommendations on that, do just pop that in the thread. But all of these bits and pieces are available either in my website or in the Facebook group, and you've got a little eyeglass at the side in the Facebook group, so you can always search for, like, for example, beading foundation, needles, seed beads, so it's all in there. Let's pop that back through. So every now and then I'll just refresh the comments. But you don't even need to use, I am only literally using 2 size 10 colours and 1 size 15 seed beads, but I'll explain it all when I get there. So coming along very nicely, but I just thought on that bigger one I'm going to be here forever and a day. But I must admit I do want to do the blue one. Oh dear, Emma didn't get a notification that I'm on. Sorry to hear that. It is meant to happen, but I know it doesn't always with Facebook. But it's good to have you, Emma. I don't think you've missed too much. I do pop all of my tutorials on YouTube. I've got 107 tutorials on there now, and there are plenty of bead embroidery ones on there as well. Can't believe it's nearly the weekend. Anybody got any plans this weekend? Don't know what the weather's due to be like. Hopefully it's going to stay as it is. Right, so all I would say is don't judge the time it takes you on my speed, because you've got to bear in mind that most of the beading that I do are demonstrations, and I have to be quick, because if I wasn't, you know, it can get a bit boring. So I try and be super quick so that I keep the pace up, so to speak, keep it a bit more interesting. But please don't judge your own on my speed, because the whole point of this is to enjoy it. It could take you a number of nights to complete it. It could take you a few weeks or months. I think the fact is you do it at your time and you enjoy it. Right. I think we can just about get 4 in there. Now we never want to overcrowd it because it starts to pucker. But we do want an even number as well for our peyote stitch. So what we do when we've completed the full circuit, so to speak. So that's our full circle. Is we're going to push our needle and go through all of them. What that helps to do is to actually pull in the beads a little bit more and helps it to sit a little bit better as well. Now you should be able to tell when you've done a full circuit of going back round, because of course you can judge it from where your tail is, because that's where you started and finished your round. So the next round we're going to introduce something called peyote stitch. I always think don't get too hung up on the names. It's a type of stitch. Peyote covers a multitude of different things. Whilst it's called the same thing, it is still a number of slightly different stitches depending on what type you're doing. Linda's doing absolutely nothing on Sunday. Good for you. And Kim has my oldest and his girlfriend and my fur grandson coming tonight for the weekend. Oh, lovely. Yes, Linda, you do deserve it. Deserve a rest. Right, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to judge when to switch down to a size 15 seed bead, which is a much smaller one, but I'm gonna make a judgment call and actually do another round of these. Second thoughts, no, I'm not. I'm going to change to the other colour, and that way you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Normally I'd stick to the same colour, but I just think it's going to be easier for you to actually identify the peyote stitch with another colour. So peyote basically means that we're going to stitch around here and we're going to create this feel where it basically encases your cabochon, and the cabochon is this glass thing here. So we're going to miss our threads coming out of here. We're going to miss the next bead and go through the one after that. So I think this is where we need to zoom in a little bit more. That's as far as we can zoom in. So what you want initially is just let that sit on the outside. Pick up another bead. So your thread's coming out of this one here. Skip the next one and go through the next one in the line. But don't pull it too tight at the moment. Pick up another one. Skip the next bead after where the thread's coming out of and go through the next one. So basically what you're doing is you're missing every other bead. So go all the way around for that. There we go. I am absolutely cooking in here. Absolutely cooking. Maybe it's because my laptop's pumping out some heat in here as well. It really is the next row where the magic starts to happen. But do let me know what is or what was the last bead embroidery project you did. You know, was it a cabochon? What was the gemstone you used? What seed beads did you use for it? So let me know, just so that perhaps we can give each other some inspiration. And don't forget to share your makes on our sister group, Beaders of Beads by Vachil. Now we have awards every month. One of the awards is you get a giveaway. That's the winner that I choose for my monthly giveaway. And the team, as a team, we each choose a winner. No, we collectively choose group winners as well. So please do share, and we particularly like to see things that have inspired you in your crafts or jewellery making from some of the tutorials as well. So Trisha's latest one that she did was a bee, so I'm presuming that's the bee kit, because I know you did the bee with me. The bees are great to do. I love bees. I'm just finishing a butterfly at the moment in bead embroidery, so I did a nice little sketch in my art group, scanned it into my computer to reduce it a little bit because it was a bit big, and I'm just putting the final touches to it. So I know it doesn't look great at the moment, but all will change when we get to the next round. Well, at least I hope it does. And it's not going to stay looking like that. When we do the next round, it will be pulled in and look neat. Oh! I'm hoping you're still with me because my Facebook has just gone down. If you could just confirm you're all still with me, that would be fab. Kim said her bee flew a few times and has been lost completely now, and now need to make a new one. Oh, that's such a shame. Right, so here we go. Now, something's not quite gone right there. Bear with me. Let me just have a quick look. No, that's right. That's right. That's right. Just checking I haven't missed anything. Yeah, the last one I did was wrong. Well, that's kind of a relief. Or was it the first one? No, it's not. Right, this is a good... I know I've made a mistake, but it's good that I can show you. Because what should happen, I think, what I must have done is I must have dropped one of the beads from the outset. Is what should happen here is you should actually get to that point there, so you just literally step up. So I think what we're going to do is a bit of fudging. I'm not going to put an extra one in, but what I'm going to do is just go through the next one and step up. So sincere apologies, because I'm not going to start it again. So what should have happened is your needle should have come out there and then you step up, okay? But if that does happen to you, just make a judgment call on whether or not to add another bead in. That's why the beads should be even. Now, the question is whether or not we skip down to the size 15s now, or have another row of the 10s. So I'm going to try the 15s out. So these are size 15 seed beads. I'm hoping they're going to fit on this needle. So again, you pick up one and then you go through the next bead in the row, like so. And then what you do is you actually pull it so that it sits in the middle. One, add one, go through one. And just pull on that every time you go around. Can you see that okay? So pick up one and go through the next one. Pick up one, go through the next one. Pick up one, go through one. So we're going to do that all the way around. And just pull that in. So as you can see, that's neatly coming in. And the reason why we're going down to size 15s is because obviously as you're working on the top of the cabochon, the diameter is getting less. And if you carry on at the same sort of size bead, so to speak, they're going to start to buckle because you're putting in a bigger diameter than you actually have in that area. Right, so pick up one, go through. But it was definitely a good idea, I think, doing a different colour, because at least now you can see where I'm actually going with my needle. But I have to say, I loved your watercolours, Linda. Very, very nice indeed. So Linda got inspired to do some watercolouring after one of our lives. And do you know what? Because I sell these glass domes separately, and we've got tutorials on how to make them. But what I love about actually hand painting your own is the fact that you can custom make them. You can make the colours to suit. So I've actually done 2 different watercolour tutorials now, one on a sunflower and one on the little rose. And you don't need any, huge amounts of kit to do it. The works do so many bargain things, art pieces now, don't they? Right, so I think that's come together nicely, and I'm hoping that you won't really notice too much that obviously in the first row I must have missed a bead. So in the last one, I'm going to go through there. So there we go. Let's just turn that on its side so you can see. So I am just going to reinforce that, pull it in a little bit more, go all the way around with those beads. But just let me know if you're following everything at the moment. And obviously gemstones are lovely to do with this as well. Whoopsie, how are we doing for time? Oops. You could go for another round if you want to, but I'm not going to, because I kind of think it seems a shame, because you're just going to cover up the pretty cabochon that you've got. So what I'm going to do now is take a nosedive down. So I'm going to go through the beads at the bottom and pull that through. It's always handy as well to have a pair of pliers just to pull your needle through if ever it gets stuck. So the next row I'm going to do is the pink row. Still here. Oh, good. Sorry, I've just refreshed. You're still there. Brilliant. You can't believe you did them. They're absolutely gorgeous, Linda. Real artist in the making. Right, okay. Hello Sue, don't worry that you're late, it's no bother. Right, so let's go with so this is it inside lined lilac. These are size 10 seed beads that are in the group. So I am going to make another row round that, and groups of 4 are generally the best. I find if you work too many more than that, then your lines get a little bit saggy. And that is, so we're just going to backstitch. So I'm going to be honest, that is pretty much the crux of it for your bead embroidery peyote cabochon. Obviously, if you've got different shapes, it's going to be slightly different. Not hugely so, but I have done a tutorial on a teardrop cabochon as well. And if you want to know how to put a special edging on it, which sort of like a brick stitch edging, then there's a tutorial in our YouTube channel for that as well. But I think one of the most difficult things, I know from my own point of view, is the colours, because sometimes you'll pick the colours and it's like, nah, that is not singing to me. I always think, let the colours sing. If they don't sing to you, unpick it, start again. Because the combination of beads that you have can really be the difference between a piece working or not. And besides, it's just seed beads, thread and a bit of foundation. So you haven't lost anything. Now I'm going to be showing you how to actually add in thread and tie off this one as well, which is a good thing to do, to get used to. Now I'm going to save I'm going to save the embellishing till next week, because I haven't got any of those materials here. But I had a delivery of more of the 3mm crystals as well, so that I can put those up in my site, and some nice little crystal rondelles as well. And I know this looks complicated, but it actually isn't. I mean, the ladder stitch is again a different stitch to learn, but we're going to break it down. I'm not going to do a major overwhelm, so what I'm going to do is samples of each bit, so that you can do it in your own time, because you don't need to watch me do the whole thing. It's the concept of it. As long as you know how to start off, you know how to finish off. Right, so when you are going to tie off, do not leave it till the last minute, because if you run out of thread, it's very difficult to tie off. So I'd say sort of 5-6 inches. So we're going to bring it to the back. I'm sure there's lots of different ways people tie off, but this is the way I tie off. So I go underneath and pick up underneath one of the thread bars and pick up a tiny bit of the foundation. But before that knot comes away, I'm just going to go in there and tie a knot. So either in the same place or a bit further down, you do the same again. And I'd recommend you do a third one. And tie that off. And then we're going to cut that. And you start off with new thread in exactly the same way as we started. So I'm going to wax my thread again. But has anybody got any tips for those of you? So has anybody that does bead embroidery got any tips for people that maybe, well, to be fair, we all share tips, doesn't matter how much you've been doing bead embroidery. I always think you can never know. there's just so much to learn, isn't there? You always learn something new. So I am just bringing that to the back. I'm bringing it a bit further back. So I'm going through the next 4 and I'm going to just carry on as before. I think the wax thing is probably one of my biggest tips, and cutting the corners off is another really wonderful one. Oh, I know the other thing I meant to say as well is we've done so many tutorials over time on bead embroidery. We've done one on colouring your foundation with watercolours. That's in there as well. So, you know, sometimes if you've got a transparent cabochon or particularly dark or, you know, bold colour, it's a good idea to colour your bead in foundation, so you can do that. I've also got stamps as well. So, you know, if you're doing any card making, you know, the stamps that come with card making and the permanent ink, you can also use those to outline your bead embroidery patterns. And I've also got them in stock. I got them produced for my bees, my mini bees, my hedgehogs, my peacocks, and it just allows you to make more once you've bought a kit, or if you feel confident already in doing your own sort of pattern in it. But do have a look, because there's also a YouTube tutorial you see on both of those doing stamping. And in fact, I've got some of the stamping bundles, like the permanent ink, etc., available in the thread. Good lighting, that is so crucial, isn't it, Sue? Kim's is make sure you leave the cabochon to dry thoroughly. Yes. Also, I would say don't buy E6000 Plus, because it is like an oil slick and takes absolutely ages to set. There's nothing wrong with it, I'm sure, for other things, but I wouldn't recommend it for bead embroidery. Just the E6000 without the plus. Just checking online just to make sure I'm not going off piste. But you know what I particularly love about this as well is, even if you've got a really tiny cabochon, you can really make a tiny cabochon look so much bigger by doing this. Now I want a couple of rows on the outside of the cabochon, because I need somewhere to actually stitch on the embellishments as well. Now just bear in mind that you don't actually need to have an even number of beads for this, because we've done our peyote and that's what it mattered for. I think I'm going to just add 5 on that one. Let's have a look. Yeah. So we're going to stitch all the way around that again. So we're going to reinforce by going through those. There we are. But is anybody else going to have a go at painting the cabochons? I'd love to know. Or if you've got, have you got any other ideas? What can we paint for the cabochons? If anybody wants another, oh, where have you gone? There you are. Ah, you disappeared. Right, if anybody would like another live on the watercolour and have got an idea what sort of miniatures we might like, do let me know if it's something I'm capable of doing. Hello Emma, the beads are size 10. They are in the group thread, they're available in the group thread, and they are inside lined lilac, one of my favourites, love it. Oh, I got all the way around to there. Facebook is having a right old moment with me tonight. Right, so I mean you can put whatever colours you want, but I just thought those colours blend in quite nicely, and also it's a colour I can wear as well. Right, let me just put away these size 15s, they're all over the place. And let's just put those pink away for a second. And I'm going to go back to the opaque mauve or lilac, I can't remember what they're called now. So we're going to bring this up, do another row. How many rows did I do on that one? I did 2 10s and ended with a 15. Need to speed up a bit. But you can also use, if you've got Toho beads, maybe you've got size 11 seed beads, those would work as well. The only thing I would say is, other than on a practice piece, I wouldn't recommend using Chinese seed beads because they're not particularly even and they don't give a particularly nice finish, which is why I really like bead embroidery is to use a branded name. So Mayuki, Toho, check. So what we'll do next week is I'll show you how to do the ladder stitch. I'll talk you through how to attach the ladder stitch onto the cabochon to make it into a necklace, and how to embellish as well. So we'll just do, I'll have some samples made up already so that I can actually show you the techniques, but show you sort of how to do it at the same time as well. But some lovely effects, and there's different types. So the opaque is literally normally like a solid colour. The inside lined beads are literally that, they're lined with a different colour. Silver lined is literally lined with a silver colour, so it just makes it a bit more sparkly. When we do the embellishments, what we actually do is we stitch onto the top of this part here. There we go. But you can do it for as long as you want to, really. You know, what I mean is you can make it as wide as you want to. How are we doing for time? We've got 10 minutes. We should be okay. If I just pick up pace a little bit there. Has anybody done ladder stitch before? Again, ladder stitch is something that you use that you can use in lots of different things. The one I'm doing is a bit quicker because I'm using 2 beads at a time, so it's like a double ladder stitch. But there's lots of seed beads in our Facebook group. There's also lots on our website. You've got all of the needles, the foundation, the bead in wax. There's also a really nice collection of opaque seed beads in a seed bead box, and what I love about that is the fact that it's portable and it's all reusable as well. Talking of reusable, did anybody see the sewing bee last night? I do love the sewing bee. The lady that does present it does drive me slightly insane, but I do love the show. And last night they were doing reuse, recycle, repair or something like that. And I loved the crochet. They were basically putting crochet blankets and making them into some absolutely amazing pieces of clothing. I do love sewing, but I don't have time. If only we could craft all day. Right, I'll refresh the feed in a second, and then we shall do our final row. Now I'm not going to reinforce this row because I'm conscious that we are running out of time. So I'm going to crack on and I'll reinforce it afterwards. There we go. Let's just refresh. Hopefully you don't disappear from me this time. Oh, I've missed loads. Hello Susie, she's still here. You're still here. Brilliant. How about initials or say a monogram? Oh, what for watercolour do you mean, Susie? That's actually quite nice, but I'm not very good at things like that, especially my handwriting. It's terrible, but you know, I'll give anything a go. Oh, how wonderful. Kim is using the drips from the pouring paint design that Sam's girlfriend did. Oh, that sounds lush. Sue practiced drawing a rose. Well, it didn't look like one. Do not be disheartened, and I think often we're harder on ourselves, but just keep practicing is all I could say. I mean, honestly, Sue, I went to art group yesterday and I had a picture up that I was inspired to draw, and it was a sea picture with boats, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do that. Oh my goodness, what a mess. It's just sometimes with watercolours I find it can get quite streaky. So yeah, I understand, but you just got to keep going. Emma, I may do that, Kim. I've got lots of leftover paint I did a few years ago. Fab. We need to see it. Yes, we need to see it, Sue. You think the pink and white looks beautiful. I'm glad you like it. There are some paint pouring kits that you can buy from Hobbycraft. Oh yes, do share a pic. You haven't seen the sewing bee yet. Well, I won't give any other spoilers just in case. So Susie is saying you could do a nice initials with a nice font with embossing gold and pen and gold foil on it. Nice inky watercolour background. I love that idea, Susie. I really do. Now the question is, Is that going to overcrowd it? I think that's okay. Trisha's not seen it yet. Yeah, love the bee. Right. Okay, that definitely needs reinforcing just to flatten it. So let's pretend I've reinforced it because we've only got 7 minutes left. So on my final round, I'm going to introduce the size 15 seed beads because that's just the texture. I like the fact that you've got one that dips down a little bit in terms of the height of the seed beads, and you've also got another colour that's been incorporated as well. Not sure whether we're going to finish it, but what we'll do is I'll talk you through cutting out as well. Do you know what? I'm going to be really naughty and I'm going to add 6 at a time because they're small, only to speed up the process. But I just like the way it incorporates the colour that we used at the start as well. So it's up to you how many colours. I've literally got 3 colours. That one, and that one. So there we go. So I think when we get to 5-2, I am just going to talk you through how to cut that out, how to finish off. Go through. I also, with the size 15s, I find that my Yuki seed beads do not like size 10 beading needles. They get stuck. So it is a brand thing. That's another reason why I rather like using the Toho, because I can work with the same needle without switching. Right, okay. So we would finish that round. I have to say I don't really that's a good example actually. You see that I've given 6 at a time. Can you see the fact that it's a bit puckery, whereas having 4 at a time would just make it lay a little bit flatter? So what you would do once you've finished is you would snip, 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 but make sure you do it from the back, so that you don't cut in to the stitches. So you're going to cut around there fairly close. I'd cut loosely around the outside first, then cut in a bit deeper to make sure you don't cut into those stitches. That's why I do it from that side, and then I'd go over to this side and just trim off, but be mindful of the stitches. And if you need to, use a Sharpie pen to colour the edges so that the white's not too exposed. Okay, so next week we are going to be covering this stitch and showing you how to embellish as well. There we go. So I'm just going to refresh the feed again. So do hope you enjoyed that and you found it useful. And I have missed a few. Sue says, surround the initials with a mixture of gold metallic beads. You can trace a nice font even if you have to shrink it on the printer. Nice. Great idea. him use a finer needle most of the time. That is the other option, if you're comfortable with that. You know, whatever works for you. I think that's the thing, is experimenting, isn't it? And it's just building your confidence. So I'm going to love you and leave you because it's nearly 7 o'clock. Thank you for joining, and don't forget, join me next week for part 2. Take care.